Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. I hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day and have had a wonderful week. Well, as the music for the show started playing, all my doves landed and demanding food. But as they landed, so the rain has come down as well. I actually forgot to feed them earlier. So when I'm going to start the show now, I'm just going to pop by and feed the chickens because they're very demanding. You should hear these doves in the morning. If I don't wake up early enough, I've got a tin roof, okay? They're on my tin roof, scratching with those claws on the tin roof. And if those of you have heard a dove, like when they flip their wings like that, it's like a squeaky sound. So they squeak up and down my window. My cat's clawing my bed, tapping me on the nose, playing with my hair. The doves are flying around, demanding they get fed. No peace, no peace for the wicked in this household. That's for sure. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you, Angela, Charmaine, Joanne. Awesome to see you guys. Yay. Hope you all had a fantastic week. I just turned 60 this week, guys. Ask me how 60 is going. Wow, what an intense age. Wow. I mean, these milestone ages are so interesting. I mean, and I haven't felt it as intensely as what I have with this birthday. That's for sure. The weeks, at least for a month, 2 to 3 weeks in the run up, and as well as the 2 days before and boy on my birthday, it all zoop. But anyway, we will talk about that another day because this is really the milestone age for sure. We are. I think we're expected to step into a type of level of wisdom if you've done the work within yourself. And I actually, funny enough, I went to run some errands earlier on, and I bumped into a friend of mine who I haven't seen since I got back from Thailand. She lives in the village next door. And funny, I was just thinking this morning, she makes the coolest shoes. And I was saying, I have to see her because I definitely want to get some more shoes. And as I walked into the shop, there she was. So we had a coffee, and she's also over 60. And she was just saying to me, it's just such actually an amazing place to be. You feel like you've arrived, but it's not a resting arrival. Kind of like you might take a pause, but then there's so much more. I just feel like I've only just begun in life. I've only just began. Miriam, you're 80th. Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. I mean, I think 80 is another big, big, big one. Big one. Wow. Congratulations, whenever that is, because that is really amazing. Anyway, yeah, Charmaine, wait till you get in your 70s. Well, hopefully you could be telling us what it's like in your 70s. Joanne, I see you 65. I mean, that's amazing. I just love that. I think it's a cool age to be. Anyway, and I really think, when we talk about age being a number, I mean, of course, within a certain realm, we age, we're human. That's part of our process right now. But I think it is such a state of mind as well. Definitely. And I'm very grateful because I think my parents played a great role in my health because I'm pretty damn healthy. I mean, not only do we have good genes, absolutely, but we were really taught to be healthy in our minds as well. And that has been a great gift. Anyway, it's Friday. So have you got your chai or whatever it is you're drinking? Just see, I've got my mega mug. My lizard mug. I got this one stocked up. Anyway, and do yoga, Charmaine. Yoga is the most incredible thing. It is incredible for your body. Anyway, so we are going to listen to part 5. No, I promise tea. Okay, tea. Yum, yum. Okay, we're going to be listening to part 5 and 6 of the sequel to The Fall of the Cabal. And I just have to tell you, the one that's coming up, there are going to be certain parts that are super triggering for me. But yeah, I think what I'll do is maybe, I'd love you guys, I'd love you to comment, give some feedback on what you think. No matter what it is you think, you don't have to agree with the narrative at all. I love people who disagree, just as long as we don't fight and insult each other, right? So let's talk about how we feel about these things. You know, we really do need to talk. This is kind of why I put them out there. Because some people saying this lady was part of the Cabal, others saying whatever. I don't really care. You know, whether they're part of the Cabal or not doesn't matter. A lot of the time, that information is really good. You've just got to discern what's not good and what's good. We know that. Ooh, the rain's coming. Okay, guys, say no more. I am going to be putting on part 5. Put your feet up, grab your coffee, grab your chai, whatever beverage of choice, yeah, you see, and let's hydrate. Ching, clang, clang. Okie dokes, let's get the show on the road.
Let me take you on a field trip to Georgia, US. On a hill in Albert County, there is a granite monument called the Georgia Guidestones. Built in 1980, the monument is veiled in mystery. It was commissioned by a man who used the pseudonym R.C. Christian. He paid a handsome price, but insisted on remaining anonymous. The monument consists of 4 massive standing stones, 1 slab stone at the top, carried by a pillar stone, plus 1 explanatory stone. 2 things are captivating. First of all, the monument is an astronomical clock and calendar, focused on the sun, the moon, the equinoxes and the solstices. A hole was drilled in one of the stones, through which one can see the North Star. Secondly, the stones contain text, information about the future Earth and the era of reason. It is written in 8 modern languages. The shorter message is inscribed all around the top stone in 4 ancient languages: Babylonian, Classical Greek, Sanskrit, and Ancient Egyptian. This is the message. Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. Unite humanity with a living new language. Rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. Avoid petty laws and useless officials. Balance personal rights with social duties. Prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. Be not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature. In short, population control, the annihilation of a large part of the population, pacific reproduction through eugenics, 1 language, 1 world court, social duties over personal rights, reason over passion, prize truth, whose truth? And nature over the human race, the cancer of the earth. And not to forget what they call the age of reason, not the age of love, or the age of compassion, or the age of abundance for all. Obviously, this monument cannot be accused of being a hoax. After all, it simply stands there. So, what are we looking at? Who on earth was the mysterious Mr. Christian who was willing to pay so much money for something so intricate and controversial? It seems to us that the Georgia Guidestones perfectly demonstrate the goal of the Cabal, the protocols of Zion, and the way they've been trying to hide their true intentions, by means of the eagerly gullible term sustainability. So, what do we see in our world today that is a reflection of these guidelines, these goals? Enter the United Nations. Believed by the majority of the people to be a wonderful institution, the UN was founded right after World War II in October 1945. Officially, the UN was set up to maintain worldwide peace and security and to develop relations and cooperation among nations. Their blue helmets are associated by many with the protection of the people. They are called the peacekeepers. Well, that's one side of the coin. The other side shows quite a different picture. A picture in which the UN's goal is a new world order, a one-world government as promoted by the learned elders of Zion. Is that a proven fact? Yes. In 2008, the UN actually set up their very own UN New World Order project, led by Nelson Mandela's grandson and ex-CIA Jaime Ilian. According to highly influential people like the presidents Bush Sr. and Bush Jr. and Gorbachev, the New World Order must be founded on the principle of collective security. And that is precisely where the UN comes in. The UN Blue Helmets can lawfully intervene whenever the UN believes a country is a danger to collective security. They can lawfully send an army and attack that country, like they did in the Korean War in 1950 and again in the Persian Gulf in 1990. Or they can lawfully send military missions to a country like in Sierra Leone from 1999 till 2006. The UN Army comprises of 70,000 soldiers from various countries. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Well, let's put it this way. Assuming that the intent was good, the outcome was often bad, terrible as a matter of fact, even shockingly horrific. Now we understand that many people will have a very hard time realizing that organizations such as the UN and its WHO are not the benign entities they claim to be. We understand the level of cognitive dissonance, of denial that we may trigger. But it is imperative to realize that both the UN and the WHO are cabal machines to the core. They hide behind a facade of beauty, but make no mistake, behind their mask, these entities are monsters. So, in order to deal with the myth of the peacekeepers, here are some facts that everybody needs to know. The UN has been involved with sexual exploitation and abuse for decades. There have been countless reports of sexual abuse, rape, women and child trafficking. When UN peacekeepers were stationed in Cambodia in 1993, the number of prostitutes rose from 6,000 to more than 25,000 in that year alone. The widespread use of prostitutes involved violent sexual abuse of girls. The UN response was threefold. The head of mission declared it wasn't important enough to follow up on, and that boys will be boys. Mission leadership advised peacekeepers not to wear uniforms when visiting prostitutes or park UN vehicles directly outside. and an additional 800,000 condoms were shipped to Cambodia to prevent the spread of HIV. Ah well, 1993, that's a long time ago. Okay, 2 years later, in 1995, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, evidence emerged that women and girls were being trafficked to work as sex slaves for UN personnel, and later that interveners were complicit in sex trafficking. However, it took 6 years before the UN came forward with a statement, and only because of rising public attention. The official investigation into this matter reported an obvious reluctance by the UN to recognize the involvement of peacekeepers in trafficking. The result? Did the UN prosecute any of the abusers or traffickers? No, it did not. It rewrote the definition of trafficking, making it less severe a crime under international law, and failed to provide adequate victim protection. Shortly thereafter, independent consultants raised the alarm that UN and NGO staff were abusing and exploiting local women and girls in refugee camps in Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. According to an OIOS investigation in 2001, sexual exploitation and abuse was most common. Examples? The sexual relationship between a UN civilian staff member and a 17-year-old refugee in exchange for school fees. The violent rape of girls by NGO staff. The rape of boys by Blue Helmets in Sierra Leone. The exchange of sex for food provided by NGO staff. And the refusal of international staff to take responsibility for children fathered with local women. From opportunistic sexual abuse, transactional sex, and networked sexual exploitation to planned sadistic attacks. 2015, Central African Republic. 2 girls aged 14 and 18 were gang raped by armed MINUSCA peacekeepers near their base. The 18-year-old had asked for some food. The 14-year-old had simply walked by. Same year, same country. Homeless and starving boys aged 8 to 15 were repeatedly raped by 26 UN peacekeepers. And UN peacekeepers randomly shot and killed a 16-year-old boy and his father and raped a 12-year-old girl. 2016, more than 108 additional cases were investigated, including the sexual abuse of 98 girls by international peacekeepers. The list of sexual exploitation and abuse is endless. In every single country, from Haiti to Somalia to Rwanda and Liberia, where 58,000 women and girls were raped in the first 9 years of UN MIL, more of 75% by UN personnel. From East Timor to Sarajevo, Bosnia, where Italian peacekeepers ran child prostitution rings from their barracks, the blue helmets left a trail of abuse and trauma. As one of the official reports so strikingly put it, many parts of the world where the UN was present were descending into chaos, if not hell, and arguably with the assistance of the UN. There were plenty of investigations, but hardly any of the perpetrators who admitted to their crimes were prosecuted. Let that sink in. Even recently, the UN was once again connected with child trafficking and child abuse, when Canadian UN mogul Peter Dalgleish was caught in the act abusing 2 young boys in Nepal. He was sentenced to 9 years in prison. Up until his arrest in 2019, Dalgleish had been presented as a saint, a protector of children. He was country representative for UN Habitat in Afghanistan. He truly was into children. He even set up Street Kids International to help homeless children. What a saint. What a great loss to our children. Oh, and the UN have more on their slate. Remember the war in former Yugoslavia from 1992 till 95? In July 95, the UN failed to protect the so-called safe area in the enclave of Srebrenica. Instead of protecting the Bosnian people who had fled there, the UN Dutch bat turned away. There was nothing they could do. They too had been betrayed at the highest level. "8,372 Bosnian men and boys were separated from their families one night and were slaughtered by Serbian armed forces. More than 100,000 people were massacred in this useless war, mostly Bosnians. Between 30 and 50,000 Bosnian women, children and elderly were raped and deported. The official status of genocide wasn't acknowledged under international law until 2004. Back to the official mission of the UN, to turn this world into a better place. This is highlighted by the Club of Rome, a group of 100 powerful men and women set up in 1968 by, among others, David Rockefeller at his private estate near Rome. A private club presenting itself as a think tank, providing suggestions to the UN. Its goal? To discuss its concern about the future of planet Earth, to come up with solutions and to urge governments worldwide to act upon those solutions. In 1972, The Limits to Growth was published, the Club of Rome's first paper on the problems of humanity, followed by the First Global Revolution in 1991, in which humanity was outed as the root problem of all the misery in the world. In need of a common enemy against whom we can unite, we have decided that pollution, global warming, water shortages, famine, etc. are perfect. These are threats we need to confront together. But we should not fall into the trap of mistaking symptoms for causes. All these dangers are caused by human intervention in natural processes, and it is only through changed attitudes and behavior that they can be overcome. The real enemy is humanity itself. This, my friends, was the foundation of everything that was about to unfold. Humanity as the cause of all problems. The UN was delighted by the Club of Rome. It had founded the World Commission on Environment and Development in 1983. And the parallels with the conclusions of the first Global Revolution research paper were obvious. From now on, sustainability was the Cabal's magic word. And so, in 1992, the first United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, or Earth Summit, was held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, where the first Agenda for Environment and Development, also known as Agenda 21, was developed and adopted. 21 was a reference to the 21st century, when all of the set goals would have to be met. 178 governments agreed with and signed the agreement. At the UN Sustainable Development Summit of 2015, Agenda 2030 was presented, an extended version of Agenda 21. 11 more goals were added to the original agenda, all aimed at the future of our planet and the human race, all aimed at sustainability. By now, 193 countries were participating. Do you know how many countries there are in the world? Only 2 more, 195. The only 2 that are called observer states are the Vatican and Palestine. Agenda 2030 contains 91 paragraphs. Paragraph 59 outlines 17 Sustainable Development Goals. There are 169 targets and 232 indicators. This makes it a rather dry document to digest. But we read it, and we were impressed. Impressed by the level of cleverness and cunningness with which something so evil was put together so seemingly benign. Using complex phrases in which words like peace, equality, safety and security are repeated frequently, the reader is actually left with a good, positive feeling. We'll show you the 17 Sustainable Development Goals in the following slide. Feel free to pause the video and have a proper look. We will, however, continue swiftly, as we wish to point out where things go wrong, not where things appear to be right. Let's face it, these goals are not feasible. The Club of Rome and the UN can use as many beautiful words as they can come up with, but how on earth are they going to accomplish these 17 goals? By asking you and me to pay more tax? Think about it. Number 1, end poverty in all its forms everywhere. Really? How? The word sustainable is used 10 times. Why? To throw fairy dust into our eyes so that we don't see? So that we will willingly pay more tax? And more tax? And more? So that the world will be saved from us, the cancer of the earth? There is nothing sound about these 17 goals. There is no logic. Take goal number 7. Ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy for all. How? Are they finally giving the oppressed free zero-point energy of Nikola Tesla to the people? Really? The real reason why these goals were put together is to come to the conclusion that they can never be achieved as long as all the participating countries in the world and all their governments have to communicate with each other. That too much time too much money is lost due to endless meetings. I'll bet you that the next step will be the announcement that the 17 Sustainable Development Goals can only be reached with a one world government. The countries will have to give up their sovereignty in order to save the world. Mark my words. The essence of the entire Agenda 2030 is socialist communistic. It describes equal distribution of goods and money, which sounds great, but which in fact means that the rich countries are to share their wealth with the poor countries. These poor countries are generally run by highly corrupted usurpers, dictators, such as Kenyatta of Kenya and Obiang of Papua New Guinea, or Xi Jinping of China. Are they going to share their wealth, their blood money, with their people? That sounds like a wonderful idea to get rid of poverty once and for all. Everybody would be rich in a split second. Let's take all the money from these corrupted governments, add to it the immense wealth of the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, both the British and the Dutch royal families, and of course the Vatican. Let's redistribute that wealth among the world population. My, what a marvelous idea to end poverty once and for all. Well, no. The people will share with the people. So, in my case, the Dutch taxpayer will have to pay and share with the poor people of, in this example, New Guinea. Now, don't get me wrong, I am for sharing, absolutely, but not according to the plans of the UN, where corrupt, malign governments remain unaffected. Read the paragraphs, the targets and indicators of Agenda 2030. Read them well, and you will see that the people will bleed, not the governments. Whenever governments talk about equality, you can rest assured that communism is involved, and they don't even hide it. Top globalists such as former NATO chief Javier Solana, a socialist, openly celebrate the plan as the next great leap forward. That's right, the old campaign slogan of the Chinese Communist Party. And isn't it odd that straight away just about every country in the world decided to participate and work together? Every dictator of every corrupt government who still had the blood on their hands of innocent civilian victims signed Agenda 21 and later Agenda 2030. Countries that had been at war with each other for years, like for instance Ethiopia and Eritrea, now all of a sudden shook hands, smiled in front of the camera, and decided to forget about their wars on drugs, weapons and people trafficking, just to focus on the importance of a better world? On sustainability? Are you kidding me? What on earth were we looking at here? How much will the implementation of Agenda 2030 cost anyway? Well, according to the UN, and confirmed by the World Bank in a 2015 statement, between $3 and $5 trillion per year. That is 12 zeros. $5 trillion per year. Where the hell is the UN going to get that money from? All those zeros are going to be collected from the taxpayers, from you and me. That's what the solution of the UN is all about. The moment a baby is born, that baby has a carbon footprint. And from the moment he or she was born, that baby will have to pay. Isn't that brilliant? The shame and blame that is put on you and me, my goodness me. Agenda 21, 2030, the Club of Rome, the UN, they all claim that we, the people, are to blame for the misery in the world, from poverty to inequality, from famine to the exhaustion of the planet's resources. Fine. Let's talk about the planet's resources, shall we? Ever heard of Henry Kissinger? Oh, you will. Let's continue to part 6.
What can I say? I mean, I don't know if you guys, any of you were watching one of the shows I was doing with Jesse maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think it was actually on the Greenland show. And I was talking about what was happening up in Africa. And that any of the peacekeeping troops, US, UN, there has never been a country in Africa that has found peace after the peacekeeping troops have been there. And this is what I was saying. This is part of, I didn't just want to be quite as graphic and then at that time, but I'm glad she's brought it up in the show, because this is what the peacekeeping troops are doing in Africa. And then I think it's really important that we know this. Not only do they do that, a lot more. The troops are not sent there to keep peace amongst the people. The troops are sent there to protect their loot. In other words, whatever that country has that they want, that's what they're there for. The rest, fodder. And of course, the people that are locals that are there are at the mercy of this. So this happens a lot. And then we wonder now, this is why I'm always so in favor of Africa standing up for itself. And this is why I really, really, really am enjoying what's happening in Africa now, especially with the French being kicked out, Americans too, British, a lot of that. Now, guys, this is why. It's not because I'm being weird. This has been going on way too long, and it's been hidden from the world. And it's time that accountability is taken. It's absolutely horrific. Anyway, let's see what part 6 has to offer. So again, get your feet up and enjoy.
Henry Kissinger, world famous as US Secretary of State and National Security Advisor under Nixon and Ford. By some hailed as a hero, by others maligned as a war criminal. Kissinger wrote a top-secret report in 1973 called National Security Study Memorandum, or NSSM 200, also called the Kissinger Report. It talks about the planet's resources, all right. Henry Kissinger came up with a marvelous plan to consolidate the smooth flow of valuable resources from various countries across the world to the US. According to Kissinger, taking other countries' resources was easy as long as countries were stable. Unstable countries were difficult to access. So the question he posed was, how do we stabilize less developed countries? Because for some reason, the planet's most valuable resources, such as oil, natural gas, gold and minerals, were all in less developed countries. In his infamous report, he wrote, "Wherever a lessening of population pressures through reduced birth rates can increase the prospects for such stability, population policy becomes relevant to resource supplies and to the economic interest of the United States." Fancy words to say that in order to create stability, one needs population policy. What does that mean? Legalizing abortion, giving families money if they use contraception, if they accept sterilization and/or abortion. And if that isn't sufficient, population policy means forced birth control, forced sterilization, and forced abortions. Furthermore, Kissinger advised withholding aid, disaster aid and food aid if a less developed country refused to implement the US population control programs. That was the way to pillage a country of its resources, create stability by reducing the population, and, most importantly, by getting rid of the anti-imperialist youth, the youngsters who tend to ask critical questions. They had to disappear. The result? A massacre worldwide, documented thoroughly in various excellent and courageous research papers that, for some reason, were ignored by the mainstream media and by the UN itself. We will give you 2 examples, 2 of many: China and Peru. We all know about China's one-child policy that started in 1979. In 2015, this policy was changed into a 2-child policy if the first baby is a girl. How does that work in practice? With the financial help of the United Nations Population Fund, formerly known as the United Nations Fund for Population Activities, the UNFPA, China developed state-of-the-art tracking systems and computer surveillance programs to keep track of women's monthly cycles. And if a woman is pregnant, the program will know immediately whether the unborn baby is her first, or, if it's a second, whether her first child was indeed a girl. If the system shows the baby in her belly is not allowed by the government to be there, she will be arrested and have a forced abortion. That, my dear viewer, is China's policy as approved of and stimulated by the UN. As soon as I was taken out of the van, I saw hundreds of pregnant moms there, all of them just like pigs in the slaughterhouse. The room was full of mums who had just gone through a forced abortion. Some mums were crying, some mums were screaming, and one was rolling on the floor in unbearable pain. Then it was my turn. It was the end of the world for me. When the surgery was finished, the nurse showed me part of my baby's bloody foot with her tweezers. After the forced abortion, the fetus or baby is left with its mother, either in bed or in a bucket. This insane sadistic cruelty is topped up with the absence of any kind of support system for the traumatized parents. As we want people to know what is happening in the world with the support of the UN, we will show some shocking pictures. If you don't want to watch, that's understandable and we fully respect that. Simply close your eyes for 16 seconds, starting from the moment the music changes. Now. Of course, the United Nations Population Fund denies being involved in forced abortions, but according to its own documents, it donated more than $100 million to China's population control program. It financed a $12 million computer complex, specifically to monitor the population program. It provided the technical expertise and personnel that trained thousands of Chinese population control officials. In China, abortions have been used as a weapon of mass destruction. Hundreds of millions of lives have been exterminated. The UN Population Fund was complicit in China's population control policies from the beginning. They did not only turn a blind eye to abuses, but helped facilitate and fund them. The UN Population Fund funded birth restrictions. It funded forced abortions. It funded China's coercive family planning bureaucracy. They also defended China's actions. Congressman Christopher Smith, co-chairman of the Congressional Executive Commission on China, 2017. One result of the one-child policy that we never hear the UN about is the surge in female infanticide that has now resulted in a disastrous sex ratio of 115 boys to every 100 girls. Female infanticide means that parents actually kill their baby girls. China has a cultural preference for boys, so the baby girls are killed. Do you know what that does to a parent? If you do, it will not surprise you that China has the highest female suicide rate in the world, and it is the only country listed where the number of suicides among women surpasses that of men. Any sympathy from the UN? No. On the contrary, the United Nations Population Fund presented China with a UN award for the most outstanding population control program. Oh, and let's not forget their official mission: to deliver a world where every pregnancy is wanted, every childbirth is safe, and every young person's potential is fulfilled. Under the one-child policy, the Communist Party, by its own estimation, prevented over 400 million births and carried out over 336 million abortions. More children were aborted under the one-child policy than the entire population of the United States. In April 2017, the Trump administration stopped funding the United Nations Population Fund. Peru. Between 1995 and 1907, over 250,000 Peruvian women were sterilized as part of a program to fulfill President Fujimori's family planning goals, financed by the US. Although this campaign was called the Voluntary Surgical Contraception Campaign, many of these procedures were forced. In fact, women whose underweight children were on government food programs were threatened with the withholding of this food if they refused to be sterilized, and others were kidnapped from their families and forcibly sterilized. In a little over 2 years, 250,000 women were deeply traumatized. Most of them were poor and indigenous. Not all women survived the surgery due to poor hygiene in the local hospitals. At least 100 women from my area went to the clinic that day. We were promised medicine. A lorry took us to the clinic. We all arrived innocent and happy. Then we heard screams and I just ran, but the doors were locked so I could not escape. I was 3 months pregnant. The health center staff knew this. They still went ahead. When I woke up, I was sterilized against my will. The examples go on and on and on. In every less developed country, the UN's concern was not with development, health, or women's empowerment, but with reversing the unchecked growth of the world population. From the very beginning, the concept of a population explosion was a false alarm specifically designed to allow rich nations to pillage the resources of the poorer nations. And Kissinger? He simply laid out the protocols of Zion for modern times. Who is Kissinger really? He was born in 1923 in southern Germany, right at the Cabal center of Bavaria. His full name? Heinz Alfred Kissinger. He claims to be Jewish, but his credentials show all the signs of Khazarian roots. His family name wasn't Kissinger, it was Loeb. The name Kissinger was adopted in 1817 by his great-great-grandfather, Meyer Loeb, after the Bavarian town of Bad Kissingen. The name Meyer Loeb struck a chord. Hadn't we seen that name before? Meyer Amschel Rothschild's great-grandfather's name was Loeb Rothschild. Meyer Rothschild, Loeb Rothschild, Meyer Loeb Kissinger. We wouldn't be surprised if one day the truth will be presented about Henry Kissinger being a Rothschild. In order to understand the UN for what it really is, the ultimate cabal monster, one must know about the countless NGOs that are connected, directly or indirectly, to the UN. NGO means non-governmental organization. It means they don't have to pay tax, as they are non-profit organizations. It doesn't matter if they make astronomical piles of money. All NGOs are tax-exempt under the Internal Revenue Code, Section 501c. In this case, most of them are 501c3s and 501c4s. Not long ago, we believed NGOs do good things. Well, upon researching the NGOs set up by the UN and working for the UN, we were in for a rude awakening. We've already seen the United Nations Population Fund aiding and paying for the Chinese Communist government with its horrid population control policy. Then there's the Population Council, yet another non-profit organization aimed at eugenics and depopulation. Eugenics intends to improve the genetic quality of the human race. We all know where that led to in World War II. Isn't it remarkable that the Population Council actually presents itself as addressing critical health and development issues such as voluntary family planning and girl empowerment? Really? Let's have a closer look, shall we? The Population Council was founded in 1952 by John D. Rockefeller III. It addressed the problem of overpopulation, stating that modern civilization had reduced the operation of natural selection by saving more weak lives and enabling them to reproduce, resulting in a downward trend in genetic quality. That genetic quality had to be protected, and so the Population Council was set up to devote itself to reduce the fertility of the world population. Rockefeller became the organization's first president. He was succeeded by members of the American Eugenics Society. Early grants supported studies in embryonic development and paid for sterilization experiments on women with bad hereditary history. It was clear from the start that the Population Council had nothing to do with protecting women's health and safety. It had everything to do with the Cabal's depopulation program. The intrauterine device they forced on millions of women in India, Pakistan, South Korea and Taiwan caused major side effects, such as severe pains, protracted bleeding, pelvic inflammatory disease, and perforated uteruses. Nonetheless, with the help of the national governments of those countries that were paid millions of dollars in blood money, the birth control measures continued without any care or compensation for the women in question. In 1969, the Population Council published an article entitled Beyond Family Planning. The document offered legitimacy to, for instance, adding fertility control agents to water supplies in urban areas, temporary sterilization of all young women via time capsule contraceptives, and compulsory sterilization of men with 3 or more children. Once again, the Population Council actually presents itself as addressing critical health and development issues, such as voluntary family planning. Voluntary? Really? These are the kind of population control NGOs we are dealing with. There are 37 NGOs right now that deal with the overpopulation program. 37 NGOs worldwide advocating negative population growth, repeating over and over again the words sustainability, devastating effects, overpopulation, environment. Call it group hypnosis, call it brainwashing. You don't believe me? Here are just a few. Negative Population Growth, a non-profit membership organization that aims to educate the American public and political leaders about the devastating effects of overpopulation on the environment, natural resources, and the overall standard of living. They advocate for a significant reduction in current population numbers in the US. A significant reduction? How, for God's sake? The 10 Million Club Foundation. This Dutch foundation aims to bring about public awareness of the need to reduce the Netherlands' population significantly so as to create a truly sustainable society. Reduce the population of my country significantly? Excuse me? Rientro Dolce, an Italian association that concerns itself with overpopulation, environment and energy. Its name comes from Marco Panella's idea of a mild return to a world with 2 billion human beings. What? A mild return? What does that mean? Killing the other 5.5 billion softly with a smile? Hugging them to death? Oh, and then there's Planned Parenthood. Yet another NGO that has our best interests at heart. The International Planned Parenthood Federation was founded in Brooklyn, New York in 1917 by Margaret Sanger as a birth control clinic. In 1942, the name Planned Parenthood was chosen. Planned Parenthood grew into a huge enterprise with more than 600 abortion clinics in the US alone. Every year, it is responsible for the abortion of approximately 350,000 babies. In several American states, abortion is allowed up to and including the moment of birth. Full-term abortion is the term coined for this event. The doctors at Planned Parenthood have no problems with this. On the contrary, on several occasions, medical staff were caught on hidden cameras selling body parts of aborted babies to third parties. Nurses admitted to knowing exactly how to turn the baby in its mother's womb so that the internal organs would not be harmed during the abortion, in order to harvest them after the procedure. They admitted the aborted babies were alive when their bodies were cut open to retrieve the organs, commissioned by well-paying third parties.
A lot of people want intact hearts these days because they're looking for specific nodes. Yesterday was the first time she said people wanted lungs. And then, like I said, always as many intact livers as possible. People just want
livers.
Some people want lower extremities too, which that's simple. I mean, that's easy. I don't know what they're doing with it. I guess they want muscle. But
Yeah, a dime a dozen.
I'm the medical director for the national office for all of the affiliates.
You know, I'm going to throw a number out. I would say it's probably anywhere from $30 to $100, depending on the facility and what's involved.
The $30 to $100 price, that's per specimen that we're talking about, right? Yeah.
Yes.
How much of a difference can that actually make if you know what what's expected or what we need versus?
It makes a huge difference. I'd say a lot of people want liver, and for that reason, most providers will do this case under ultrasound guidance, so they'll know where they're putting their forceps. Kind of rate-limiting step of the procedure is calvarium. Calvarium, the head is basically the biggest part. Most of the other stuff can come out intact.
Right.
It's very rare to have a case that doesn't have enough dilation to evacuate all the other
to bring the body cavity out intact and all that.
So then you're just kind of cognizant of where you put your graspers. You try to intentionally go above and below the thorax so that, you know, we've been very good at getting hard, long liver because we know that, so I'm not going to crush that part. I'm going to basically crush below, I'm going to crush above, and I'm going to see if I can get it out intact. And with the calvarium, in general, some people will actually try to change the presentation so that it's not vertex. Because when it's a vertex presentation, you never have enough dilation at the beginning of the case unless you have a real huge amount of dilation to deliver an intact calvarium. So if you do it starting from the breech presentation, there's dilation that happens as the case goes on, and often at the last you can evacuate an intact calvarium at the end. So I mean, there are certainly steps that can be taken.
So they can convert to breech, for example, at the start of the.
Exactly. Under ultrasound guidance, they can just change the presentation. Federal abortion ban is a law, and laws are up to interpretation. So if I say on day one I do not intend to do this, what ultimately happens doesn't matter.
Realistically, if we were to do an agreement with you guys, you know, what do we think you could get? I mean, what do you feel like you could get?
Volume-wise?
Yeah,
okay.
on specifically liver tissue, because that's such an area of demand for us.
Right, so liver and what about intact specimens? Just
Oh, yeah, I mean, if you had intact cases, which we've done a lot, so we've sometimes shipped those back to our lab in its entirety.
So what would keep your lab happy? Like, what would make your lab happy?
Another 50 livers a week.
you can handle that?
Yeah.
Okay.
As you probably know, potentially, I mean, I think that one of the issues with neural tissue is so fragile. It's insanely fragile.
Right.
I was going to say is that I know we get requests for it's the hardest thing in the world to ship.
You do is the whole calvarium.
That's it. Yeah, that's the easiest way. And I mean, we've actually had good success with that in the past. So
They're like, make sure the eyes are closed.
Yeah. Tell the lab it's coming. So don't open the box.
Yeah,
Oh God. You know what I mean? So yeah, where so many of the academic labs cannot fly like that. They're just not capable.
Why is that? I don't understand that.
It's almost like they don't want to know where it comes from. Like in seeing that, where they're like, we need limbs, but no hands and feet need to be attached. And you're like,
They just want the long bones and they don't want to see that.
they want you to take it all off, like make it so that we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's like,
Bone the chicken for me, and then
that's it.
you know,
Sort of
and
like,
then I'll eat it.
But we
not
know what it is. I mean, but their lab.
So this goes to that whole stigma.
Stigma.
that,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
this is,
And their lab techs freak out and have meltdowns, and so it's just kind of like, yeah. I mean, I think you're either in the cause or you're not.
Yeah.
And if you're not in the cause, like, they don't need you around.
get out.
They need champions, and if you're not a champion, you should go.
Yeah.
Because that's just, you know, and I don't know, the clinics, you know, they're very guarded, as they should be.
Yeah.
And who do they let in their house? They want champions in their house, right?
Hello, I'm Cecile Richards, President of Planned Parenthood Federation of America. I want to be really clear. The allegation that Planned Parenthood profits in any way from tissue donation is not true.
What would you expect for intact tissue? What sort of compensation? What sort of...
Well, why don't you start by telling me what you're used to paying?
Don't lowball it. Tell me what you really...
$75 a specimen.
Oh, that's way too low. Really, that's way too low. I want to keep you happy.
I've been at places that did 50 too. But see, we're not in it for the money. Now, this is for tissue that you actually take, not just the tissue that the person volunteers that you can't find anything.
Exactly.
And here's another thought is, we can talk about specimen as per specimen per case or per procured tissue sample, which would be so that if we're able to get a liver thymus pair, maybe that is $75 per specimen, and so that's for for liver thymus pair, and that's $150. Versus if we can get liver thymus, brain hemisphere, and all that, then and so that protects us so that we're not paying for what we can't use. I mean that also.
I want a Lamborghini. That's what I want, a Lamborghini.
Don't we all, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Planned Parenthood has been receiving millions from, for instance, the American government, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Buffett Foundation, the Ford Foundation, the Turner Foundation, and many others. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation gave no less than $89.5 million to Planned Parenthood. Why? To kill unborn babies? Why the heck do they call this charity? The most merciful thing that the large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it. The most urgent problem today is how to limit and discourage the over-fertility of the mentally and physically defective. A marriage license shall in itself give husband and wife only the right to a common household and not the right to parenthood. No woman shall have the legal right to bear a child, and no man shall have the right to become a father without a permit for parenthood. We don't want the word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population.
But from my view, I believe that there should be no more babies.
I admire Margaret Sanger enormously. Her courage, her tenacity, her vision.
President Trump ended the US funding of Planned Parenthood in 2019. Oh, and just as we started editing this part 6, we received news that Henry Kissinger is one of 11 high-ranked officials who have just been removed from the Pentagon Defense Policy Board, effective immediately. Thank you, President Trump. We could talk about the UN forever, its brilliant business constructs, its evil deeds, and its hypnotic words to put up a smokescreen to divert the public from seeing the truth of its real threefold purpose: pillaging the resources of less developed countries, money laundering, and population control, better known as the depopulation program. The money laundering will be clarified next. We promise you, when we're done with the UN and its NGOs, you will never donate another dollar ever again to any one of them. Let's continue with more crime, fraud, and the front man of this entire scheme in part 7.
Wow. Excuse me. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely found that kind of triggering. I'd never heard actually the extent of which that 1 and then 2 baby policy in China actually affected the population. I'd heard rumors, but not to the way that she's explained it now. Wow. I mean, wow. And it's interesting again, because when we look at the UN, which was started in October 1945, the United Nations, after World War II again, so much, all of this evil crept in after World War II. And, you know, if we just listening to what Guy Anderson was saying, we listen to what Gary Wayne is saying. If you guys watched that series on, gosh, it's a long name, The Greatest Untold Story of Adolf Hitler, gives a very different perspective on who won the war or the Second World War, and how they were started, and who was involved, and who was gaslighting who, and who really died during these wars, you know, and how many people. We see a very different picture that's being painted then. Wow. I mean, let's just, you know, and I'm sure she'll probably still get into it, but the mass or the forced sterilizations are absolutely horrific. You know, she hasn't even spoken yet about, and I'm sure that might still come. I know in Africa, and it would have been in a lot of the third world countries then, they were injecting AIDS into the African population via the smallpox vaccine that started in the 80s, early 80s. They started with that. That was really supposed to wipe out the African population. Thank God it didn't, but it's caused a lot of suffering, I'll tell you that much. It was horrific to see so many people suffer from AIDS. Anyway, okay, everybody, well, you know what to do with this. Just see how it lands. Breathe, hum, do what we need to. This information is extremely triggering. If you're a woman, if you're a human, right, I think we can all identify with that. So I think let's just give a thought, spare a thought and a moment for those who've gone through this. Yeah. Well, all the vaxxers, I don't believe, are for our good, Joanne. Fauci's always involved, Sherry Barine, yes. Gates, Fauci. And I mean, I think in the beginning of the pandemic, it was well documented in the beginning that the US government funded the lab in China, Wuhan, China, where this pandemic bug was developed. And it was, they funded, I think it was 300 million, something like that. Crazy, 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 guys and gals. Well, let's just walk this path together. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you watching with me and hanging out on a Friday. I'll see you back next week, where we can do 6 and 7. I'm still keen to do the Jeffrey Epstein interview. So if you guys want to watch that interview, let me know as well. I just haven't heard anyone say they want to watch it, but wow, it's fascinating. And to pick up his narcissism. Amazing. And especially now that we know what we're looking for, or we're seeing it with different eyes. Yeah. Crazy. Okay, everybody. Have a beautiful weekend. I will see you back here on Solutions with Chanti in about 45 minutes at 6 o'clock South African time. PM, that is. So wherever in the world you are, it's 45 minutes from now with Lynn Monet. Very fascinating and interesting woman. So join me for that. And until then, take it easy. Have a beautiful weekend. Breathe, smile, and enjoy. Have fun, everybody.